Hi there, Karen Polarity from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be discussing the Gate 8, and we'll see how it's going to affect your week. It's all about making a creative contribution to the world. Okay, so the Sun and Gate 8 started on the morning of May 15th. It goes until May 21st, early in the day. It's also got the Earth in Gate 14, which is the gate of money. And so we've got the 8 coming off the bottom of the throat right here. And we've got the gate of money, the gate 14 coming off the top of the sacral. And it's kind of nice in a way that these two work together because one is about making a creative contribution to the world and being a bit of a rebel and doing it a bit differently and not actually fitting in too easily. And the 14 is all about money. And so it's a nice kind of a balance in that they'll probably have a little bit of a leg up in terms of making money, but a rebel nonetheless. So we start this week with two centers defined. We've got the root and the sacral again. We've had these now for a few weeks, and I think it goes another week. We've got the sacral defined, and then we've got the root defined through the 360, which is the general mutation. And Mercury did turn direct on May 13th on Saturday. So hopefully you got a little bit of a reprieve now, and only Pluto is retrograde. The two nodes were retrograde for a few days, but then Pluto will continue being retrograde for another few weeks. And then it goes direct again, and it's going back and forth this year for a bit. So you've got the Gate 8 as contribution, or holding together in the original I Ching. It's the basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. So it's very much an individual gate, but it's about helping the rest of the world, basically, in whatever way you find that you want to do that. But it's basically about making a contribution. In the incarnation crosses this week, we've got the cross of contagion, contribution, and uncertainty. And in quantum human design, it's called fulfillment. In the gate 14, we've got possession in great measure, as I said, money or abundance. Some people call it abundance, or power skills in the original I Ching. It's part of the individual circuit also. And so it's the accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. It's the way you work. And so it is about creating money from the sacral, usually, from the work you've done in your workforce or life force energy, and being able to couple it with grace and control, which is nice. So compromise is the shadow. In the gene keys, competence is the gift, and bounteousness is the CD. And in human design, quantum human design, we call it creation. So with this gene key 8, the shadow here is mediocrity, because you can imagine if the top side of this or the upper echelon CD is exquisiteness, which is basically a combination of all the CDs, all the wonderful, powerful, creative essences there are in each of the gates is what the CD is here. It's exquisiteness. And the shadow on the lower side, is mediocrity. So on the repressive side, which is the more scared or fearful side, we've got a person who appears to be wooden, who doesn't really change much, who doesn't change relationships or jobs or anything like that, and is almost too scared to change, right? This person would have the 8 in their chart, and perhaps even in their incarnation cross, would be too fearful to do anything about it. And so that's the repressive side. On the reactive side, you've got somebody who's artificial, somebody who might appear to be successful, who might appear to be out there in the world and trying to do whatever they could with the skills that they have, but it comes off as artificial. And the difference here is that the repressive person would stay in relationships, for example, according to Richard, and not change because of fear of change. The reactive person would be one to move from relationship to relationship much more often because the artificiality would surface, and then they would move on to the next, basically having been found out, they would move on to the next relationship. And the gift here is style. And I love that he calls it style because it's about having a way about you that is the contribution that allows for the contribution in whatever field you're in. Now, a lot of people, as we'll see from the personalities this week, a lot of people are in the arts or in leadership or in other fields that allow for individuality. Let's call it that, right? So the arts and leadership, and you're from places where individuality is allowed, right? It tends to be not as evident or not seen as easily as popularity when people are in more mundane, let's say, industries such as technology or education or finance or other kinds of the more typical kinds of jobs that we have. And so one of the things Richard was saying was that the more we can get the people who are the rebels, the people with this gate 8 or gate 1 or any of the gates that indicate rebelliousness or change or wanting to be different, and allow them to feel comfortable being different, the more we'll have change in all those industries, so that we can kind of level up and have a more innovative way of doing things in each of these industries, because I think the time is here. We're starting to make changes now, but the time for change has come. So in the graphic, he says, our style is our radiance, our aura, the timbre of our voice, as we allow ourselves to rest in the uncertainty and vulnerability of life. So it's being comfortable with who you are enough to be different, right? To be comfortable with the style that you create. And he also says mediocrity prevents people from being heroes or heroines. And it does, because some people are here to be those contributors, to make a difference, to be the rebel. And the mediocrity, that they feel in the shadow, that where they can't get out of their own way, where they need to stay in the comfort zone, where they are just, doing what their parents did or doing, what they think they need to do, it prevents them from real brilliance. He also says style is more than skin deep. It's the cutting edge of creation itself. So that style, that's our radiance, our aura, our timbre, our voice, all of that it's not skin deep. It's much deeper, and it's allowing it to come out from within. So we've got a number of people who were born in this Sun Gate 8, and as I was mentioning, a lot of them are in the arts, right? They're actors and actresses. Jasper Johns was an artist. Tony Stewart, race car driver. Cher, musician, singer. Malcolm X in leadership position. We also had Pope John Paul II in a leadership position. Tsar Nicholas II in Russia, and Richard Avedon, the photographer. So people in the arts, people who are expected to be creative and individual and have their own way of doing things and be a bit rebellious. Yes. And so for the people who aren't necessarily in those kinds of careers, it's a little harder to get outside the comfort zone, to feel comfortable enough in your own skin to be doing something different. So today, I thought we'd just talk briefly about Pierce Brosnan, an actor. He was born on May 16th in 1953 in Drogheda, Ireland. He's a generator with a 1-3 profile, and he's the right angle cross of Contagion. He's acted in over 70 films, including 4 as the James Bond character, the 5th of the James Bonds. He's also a producer. He's got the Irish, or the production company called Irish Dreamtime, which we'll talk about in a second because it's kind of funny. The people with the 8 are people who have dreams, people who would be, if by the time they got to be 50, they weren't doing what they were here to do or to make a contribution in the world, they would be having nightmares, or they would be waking up in the middle of the night, wondering what it is they're here to do. Pierce Brosnan was lucky that, early on he figured out what he was here to do. In TV, he played Remington Steele for a long time in the 80s. And he's had a very, while not, I was kind of surprised to see that he hadn't received any awards. He'd received a few nominations, but no awards per se. But he does have his own production company, and he keeps quite busy. 70 films is a lot, even for a generator. So he does have a bunch of openness. He's got the open head and ajna, which allows him to be a very creative thinker. They really thinking outside the box all the time. He's got the open throat. So he really is not somebody who is here to be the loud person or be the, the cheerleader or be the front runner in any regard. He's here to react and respond to things. He does have all four motors defined though, which is a lot of energy for any generator. And that's probably what's allowed him to have such a long career. He's turning 70 in this birthday. And so he has, he's still got things in the pipeline. He's got things in his production company. He's very active in philanthropy and activism. He's environmentalist. And so he keeps busy. He's got a lot going on. They live in Hawaii. He lives there with his second wife. His first wife passed away. He has 5 children in total, 2 adopted from his first wife. And he keeps a busy schedule. So he had, done a bunch of movies before James Bond. He did a bunch, the James Bond series, but made an agreement with them while he was doing that so that he could continue to do other movies. So he was allowed, for every James Bond movie he did, he was allowed to do 2 other movies. And so, that's kind of a very active generator negotiating that kind of schedule, right? So he does have all 4 motors defined. So that's the will, the solar plexus, the will over here, the red triangle, the solar plexus. So he is somewhat emotional. He's got the sacral defined, and he is the entire channel 2 to 14. So it's all about making money and then knowing how to save and spend it. And apparently he's been pretty successful with that. He does also have the 2551. So he's here to make a difference with initiating people into their own dreams, as he does with Dreamtime, and goals, and moving people toward the love of spirit, whatever that is for them. He's got this channel 4130, which is 30 is the gate of intensity, 41 fantasy, and 30 desire. And so it's the entire channel that allows him to become emotional, but also to have a defined root. So it's a fairly it's not an intense wave. It's a relatively mild wave. And he also gets the gate 29. So he's all about commitment. Gate 21, he's about control, which, might explain some of the negotiations he does. And then off the throat, he's got quite a number, 5 out of the 11 gates that you could have off the throat. So he's got the gate of enthusiasm. He's got 20, which is unusual. Many people don't have it. It usually occurs just for, or a lot of times for the manifesting generators, which is knowing what to say in the moment. So that's a nice gate to have when you're in business, when you're in, any of the arts. He's got the 31, so he speaks with influence. He's got that 8, so he's here to definitely make a contribution that's less prestigious thing he could have done either in Ireland or in England, born in Ireland, and then moved to England when he was about 10. So moving from basically country to the city of London at the age of 10 with his father left. And so his mother was raising him alone, basically. And I believe she was a nurse in London. And he was the odd man out. He was the odd man out for most of his childhood because he didn't have a father. Was raised by his grandparents up until that time, then raised by his single mother. And in those days, that was really unusual. That wasn't the norm at all. And so he was the rebel basically from the beginning, not by choice, but he was very different and out of his comfort zone for much of his life. Reflects on that, he's very reflective of that. He's also got the gate 50 over here coming off the spleen, which is about a big kind of caring energy at 32, which is all about business. He's got that both conscious and unconscious. So it's about having a business, having a durable business. He's got the gate 19, which is very much about sensitivity to other people, to his own feelings, and then to tactile things like sweaters, itchy sweaters. Probably doesn't like the itchy woolen sweaters that he might have had to wear when he was younger. And changing oatmeals and things like that. Those things are noticed by people with the gate 19 and tags in their clothing. He's also got the gate 39, which is about provocation. So he can be a bit of a tease. Off the root, he's got the 53, which is about starting things, the 52, which is concentration. And so he's been able to have quite a career. Up in the head, he's got the gate 4, which is about answers or possible answers, and then opinions. And that's all he's got. So quite open head and ajna. He'll come up with a possible idea and then he'll have an opinion. So that's Pierce Brosnan. Happy birthday. Here's to lots more years of successful films and creations and contributions. So hope you have a great week. See what contributions you can make, see what makes sense for you, and see what other people are doing in terms of their own contributions, because it will be a week when people might come up with new ideas for the contributions that they want to make. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Be well.